I honestly don't know what to say. Welcome back. This is going to be basically a recap video of, I don't even have words, honestly. But this is going to be a recap of the Juventus game for Real Madrid as they basically just wrap up the preseason here in the US as they win against Juventus in Orlando, Florida. And we didn't get the result. We ended up actually losing 3-1 in this match. And there's a lot to say. I think there's definitely questions in both ends of the team, right? In the offense and now in the defense. Things that I think we really have seen over the last couple of seasons, and it just seems that we really can't ignore them now. Like, these things are evident cracks, and I don't know. There's things to be said. And so in today's video, we're going to go ahead and just see if we can break down the mistakes, some of the positives, some of the negatives for sure, but really basically just talk about what happened in this game. We're talking about a game with 66% possession, 34 total shots, 8 shots on target, 13 off target, and 13 blocked shots. We're talking about 15 corner kicks, 16 free kicks. It's all right here, and it's giving you the idea of what's happening. I wish I could figure out what the XG was, because, to me, this is going to be ridiculous. But to come out still with only one goal, with 30-plus shots, it's kind of concerning. And so we'll talk about the lineup, basically who started and who got the nod. And I got to be honest, I was in Twitter Spaces earlier in the day, and when the lineup was dropped, there was a couple people that maybe expressed that, hey, this looks interesting. On Twitter, I went ahead and posted an ideal formation. Not even a formation, but more, the formation that Ancelotti's basically doing now with this diamond formation. But the idea here was who would start in what positions and what I've learned about it. And it really just comprises that there are certain players that are just not being used properly in those positions. I think that when you had Rodrigo and Vinicius in the previous games, it just wasn't functioning well. And my thought was, let's go ahead and toss Joselu in, just for the fact that he is a 9, and you can play off of him, right? He is a bigger guy. He can bring the ball down and potentially leak it up for you. The idea here, though, is that if he is the 9, he should also be part of the finishing aspect, getting the goals. And here, it's like I said, even in the preseason in general, Joselu, beyond just that one goal, it's not like he did bad, but it wasn't necessarily impressive either, right? Where it's just, you just now know, undoubtedly, this is the guy. No, I think, honestly, we still have questions. It was nice to see his participation in what he can do. I just think that the team is still figuring out how to play basically cohesively and how to play together and this kind of thing. So with Joselu and Vinicius up top, once again, that diamond formation with Jude Bellingham right behind that duo, with Eduardo Camavinga, Toni Kroos as the CDM or the DM, and then you actually had Luka Modric out on the right. You had Lucas Vazquez as the right back. Antonio Rudiger was playing a center back pairing with Nacho, and you had Fran Garcia, who's stepping in as Mendy has been injured himself in the Barcelona game. Let's just go ahead and take a look at some of the video and footage that I think we should really kind of pay attention to, just due to the fact that it just seems that there's several questions of what's going on, because the goals landed pretty early. So as the game went on, and we really don't have much data within the first couple of minutes, because we basically go ahead and concede within the first 40 minutes of the match. It all starts with basically Real Madrid trying to rotate the ball from the back. We'll start seeing the ball being rotated across. As we are continuing to rotate this ball, the ball is being rotated obviously from the left to the right, played to, more than likely here, it all started with Toni Kroos. But Toni Kroos ends up finding Luka Modric. And Luka Modric here when he could easily go ahead and do something of the most simple pass back, maybe, or finding someone inside in the middle. He tries to do this flick action while he's facing the opposite direction. More than likely, he's trying to take the momentum of the ball and do that flick so that it just basically goes off of him to find a Vinicius here, but doesn't get the right angle on that flick, and it basically just lands right in between the legs of this player here. Yeah, in this moment, he tries to do like a flick so he can go ahead and quickly just turn around. Didn't pan out the way. So as we continue to play it, he loses the ball. If you notice the time here, we're barely in the 40th minute. But this is the defensive structure that this ends up happening. And I think the tendency here is that when Real Madrid is caught off guard or in transition, and then this transition is basically losing the ball, we don't have a great shape. How about that? We don't have a good shape. Because if you immediately look at what's happening here, is Nacho's down here. Rudiger is somehow up here. Lucas Vazquez somehow is in the middle. He went inside because as this ball got rotated to Courtois found Lucas Vazquez, which had a bad touch, which made him go basically looking to control the ball, coming inside, found Toni Kroos, and Toni Kroos rotated out to Luka Modric, which we then see loses the ball here. Quickly, already in the loss of possession, we're not in good shape. This is not correct. I mean, as you can see here, I hope you can see the arrows here, but this is not good. Not good at all. So let me go ahead and continue playing that. Right here, it's a great pass, a one-time pass to go ahead and find Moise Kean inside, as Moise Kean more than likely understands that potentially could either go ahead and turn around and take a shot with his left, but I think he kind of sets up the right move to go ahead and allow off his setup. And as to give the give and go, with everybody basically lost. So I want to see this all in action. So bad shape. So Rudiger is covering someone. Lucas Vazquez is applying the pressure with Luka Modric. When there's two players on one, there's an open player somewhere. Camavinga tried him back. Nacho trying to catch up to where he notices that Moise Kean is open. But at this point, when this ball is coming in, Rudiger is keeping Moise Kean on side. So the pass comes in. Nacho is basically trying to catch up and trying to make that block. But as he's committing to Moise Kean, so is Camavinga. Moise Kean obviously is sensing that, and so he sets up the right play, basically to allow the person next to him to go ahead and get the ball as he takes a touch. Once again here, a good idea as well. Setting up right here for Weston McKennie as he's getting ready to go ahead and get inside the box with that late run. He also could have easily played it right across from him so that he could find that individual there. I forgot their names, I'll be honest. I'm so tired. He takes the shot, hits the post, and it's just a mess. It's the shape. Takes the shot. Moise Kean puts it in. Within the first minute of the game, Real Madrid are down once again through a mistake that could easily been solved if Luka Modric could have just kept it simple. The man's doing the gritty. I mean, what do you want me to do? Today I coached the 5-year-olds, but I coach 7 and 8-year-olds. One of the things I try to instill in them is there's a time and place to be still and watch, but you always want to be moving. Find yourself not being just standing still where you're just ball watching. And it's awesome because like you tell these to these kids because you want them to be, great on the field. And then you watch professional players do things that you're telling kids to not do, and you're kind of like, it could be frustrating. So look at Modric and Lucas. I mean, they're here. I mean, they might as well just be hugging each other and high-fiving because they're just ball watching at this point, right? Do something. Lucas Vazquez should be somewhere here to recover, but we're ball watching. And as this happens here, we're now just standing still. Who's up top? Who's Selu? Oh man, this is great. Good for Camavinga to go ahead and find, and good for Vinicius to not just continuing the run, but actually pausing, allow some space between him and the defense because they're naturally going to go ahead towards the 6-yard box, right? It just happens because you're trying to cover up goal, and also Camavinga's driving that defender to that point, and so Vini running and then stops right as he's entering the box, which allows him that space so that if he does get a pass, you can go ahead and take a shot. And which he does. And at this point, you might think, hey, this might be at the end of the net. But it was a great save. As it zooms out in the next shot, you're seeing Toni Kroos's head down in the bottom of the frame. Well, at that time, Weston McKennie sprints, full sprint, right between. He splits them, runs right past them, full sprint, to actually then find a space that you would think he would just run straight into Rudiger, but Rudiger is nowhere to be found because somehow he gets pulled to go ahead and cover Chiesa, which really should be covered by Lucas Vazquez. So there's Toni Kroos, unaware that right behind him, Weston McKennie just made a full sprint. Lucas Vazquez is getting the overlap, but for some reason, Rudiger gets pulled out, knowing that Toni Kroos potentially is going to get here. But remember that little gap that I told you about him and Toni Kroos and Camavinga? Weston McKennie, who started the play all the way in midfield, made a full-on sprint so he can get a through pass from Chiesa for Weston McKennie to basically take it into the box to then find Timothy Weah, as Weah's basically in the back door. But if you notice how everybody's now shifted all the way to the right, you'll notice that Nacho will pick up Weston McKennie's run, which makes then Fran Garcia pick up Moise Kean, and then no one's watching the back door. In the phase of game of just being caught off guard, we're in a bad shape. And I think I'm noticing this tendency of either when we go ahead and attack, it seems that we rely on our best player, which is Vinicius at this point. The dude is so fast, he can get the ball in that final third really quick, but everybody is not as fast. And so they're late to basically being part of that play. And so Vinicius then has to decide, well then, if no one's here, I'm going to do something about it because I want to create a chance here. In those moments, if he could just reflect to say, let me pause and let me see if I can rotate this ball to find the pass to create even a better chance for a goal, I think that's what it would improve in. But what ends up happening is, I say maybe 4 players are running with Vinicius to be part of that. And as they're arriving, at that point, Vinicius either already took a shot, gets dispossessed, no longer has the advantage to even make the right pass. And so at that point, that you just made 4 other players run to join you, you now catch them in transition because, like I said before, if they dispossess Vini, you just made players go forward as now the ball is going the other direction. And then that goes the counterattack. And that's been happening as of late. The only thing that's been bailing us out is that maybe we win the ball in the second, or we win the second ball in that phase of transition, of being caught going forward. And now we have to go back and try to recover. This is unacceptable to know that you're going to allow a guy that's right here, full on sprint in this channel. I mean, it's bad. It's bad. No one's looking and checking behind him. Camavinga should have kept an eye on him, but he lets him just breeze right by. Right? In none of those instances do we see, I don't think these guys scan anywhere else, but only just what's in front of them. Right? Kroos never once checked his shoulder to see if anybody's making a run between them. Because he's going to apply the pressure knowing that there's 2 other guys that could easily pick that player up. Kroos doesn't make a check to see what's going on here until it's too late. Camavinga, now just noticing that he just let this guy go right through, doesn't notice that there's a back door or even here. Right? He's so focused on ball watching. So by the time that Weston McKennie gets the ball crossed in, Camavinga is noticing that it's going through. It's too late. Timothy Weah is completely open, and he puts it in the back of the net. Great finish. And great execution, honestly. So American to an American in America against Real Madrid. Yeah, it's just unacceptable to watch Camavinga just allow that to run right through them. And same thing for Toni Kroos at this point. So a great, great pass from Toni Kroos to basically find Vini on the sprint. And as like I said before, now look at Joselu. Because he could easily set this up as well, right? Like he could easily set it up, Joselu, to take the thing. But Vini's confident enough to go ahead and take the 1v1 with the goalkeeper and make it doubted. Because I think he's making his body shape as like he potentially could either go to the far post, or I'm turning because I'm going to go ahead and lob it off to Joselu, who's actually making a run. But he decides, I'm going to go ahead and take the chip at the keeper. And I think this is a perfect way to see that perfect pass through that channel. But a good ball recovery here between Fran Garcia and Camavinga to apply that pressure for them to give up the ball, and Toni Kroos recovering that first one to go ahead and set up Vini. And so that's fantastic. I like that. To find Fran Garcia. Fran Garcia puts it back in, and Jude does the nice and courteous thing to go ahead and see if Joselu can get that, as he allows the ball go through right as like a dummy. But it just, nothing was read there to understand what was going on. The ball's given up right here. Jude Bellingham, see if he can find Luka Modric, and this is the play here that in another day, this would have been finished, right? Like if you see Lewandowski do those, he puts those in the net. This is the one that should have been a penalty, but it isn't called a penalty. It's basically called outside. If you notice where he's getting tackled, it's in the box. It's pretty frustrating because I talk about shape in the defense. Carvajal ended up being placed as a left back as Fran Garcia got subbed off, and Odriozola came in, so he's out on the right. So Odriozola is right here. He's getting helped. I forget who was coming down to actually help him here. I don't know if it's Alaba. I think the more I see this play, the more frustrated I am. Our captain, Carvajal, is all the way up here with Rodrigo. I'm trying to remember who this was. I think that might be Jude. Bad shape, first off, because once again, caught off guard. Got caught, going forward. And just to see players just basically just run back. Not even try to run back, but you could tell they were just already tired. So, ball in the box, whip it inside, try to find that far post. Odriozola is just looking around, and that ball just finds the back of the net for somehow. And that is the game. Once again, I don't know if it's in this replay, they'll show you basically the build up to it. But just to watch certain players, the one that loses the ball here and gives it up is the one and only Carvajal. Carvajal is trying to make a pass to Nico Paz, and basically it's a bad pass. Gets picked off. And I want you to notice the players as the ball is lost. How many walk back? Walking back, just decides, oh yeah, maybe I should run back. The dude's already in the box, and this Carvajal just barely crossed midfield. Came out like in the 50-something minute for Lucas Vazquez. And for the guy already to be walking back, it's pretty disappointing. And so that ends the game, and in a disappointing manner. Just not the night that you really expect Real Madrid to kind of fall back to bad habits. Really, 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 really bad habits. So what do I get out of this? And my thought is that the questions in the back have to be fixed. Now, I don't know if it's that we're getting caught so far forward, where maybe our back line is having much of a higher, maybe we got to take a couple yards back and not be so top heavy or wanting to be up top, because it looks like when we send our fullbacks to be fairly aggressive, then yeah, we only have 2 in the back that are going to be basically the only ones left to do the cleanup. But in this breakaway, it doesn't help to know that certain players are walking back that just have been playing not even 45 minutes. Yet they're the ones with the armband. You know what? It's like I'm getting to a point where I'm aiming at players, but the thing is just it's the simple things. It's the simple things that if you control and keep it simple, it's just teams tend to take care of business that way. When you act fancy and you do the fancy things and you prioritize those things, you will lose games because you're losing the focus of what we're trying to do here. It's the game is very simple. It's not complicated. We tend to complicate it. We tend to approach the games and complicate it more than it should be. This is a Juventus team that is in complete shambles when it comes to squad and an institution as a club. And we approach this game like with no sense of respect to the opponent. We all know it's preseason. Don't get me wrong, right? Players are trying to get into shape. Coaches are trying to understand their system, what they're trying to do, what players should be starting. That's all happening. But show some effort as well. You're not going to tell me that there's several hundred fans that came out to this match to watch their club perform. And they give this showing. It's disappointing. It is. So for 2 games straight in the final, in the preseason, I'm sorry, Real Madrid just taking 6 goals and we only make 1 over 60 shots once again and only 1 goal. And I mentioned in the beginning of the video that I wanted to see a Vini and Joselu up top, just to add that you actually do have a forward up top, and then you have Vini that can play off of that, and vice versa. But I think the team is just still not figuring out, who's going to supply these 2 up top. I think Jude Bellingham is still understanding even what it is to play as a 10 with 2 players that he's never played with before. The idea here is that this is preseason, and that's the opportunities that they get not only in the actual games, but also during training. The problem is with Jude Bellingham, to me, I think he's playing a position too far up. I actually want to see him in a deeper role as an 8 than actual 10. I think the poor guy is a professional. The poor kid is going to do what he's being asked to do. But I honestly think the best we can get out of Jude Bellingham is to play him as an 8. It's just hard to judge. It's hard to judge how to take this on. But you have to pick up these things, because if you don't, there will be mistakes that will cost you, the league, cost you points, tournaments. You got to fine tune, and you can hope that these players can take care of those bad habits and those mistakes, and hopefully get to a point where the cohesion in the back start spreading that sense of confidence. Where the goals are going to come from, I think everybody knows, and it's almost idiotic if you don't get it. We are missing a striker. We're missing a number 9. I want to give Joselu that opportunity, and I still think he kind of deserves that. But also, we got to be realistic in understanding what he offers to the team. He is a loanee. No one expected him to be the starting 9, although maybe I had. But I also have to be realistic, and we also need to understand that in the big games and this long season that potentially can give you 60-something games, we need someone to finish. We need someone to put the goals in the net. And I wish I could say Joselu would be that guy, but we got to be realistic. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video now, and that's basically my recap. I'm kind of tired. I'm losing my voice. But thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being part of the video. If you like any of this content, just make sure you hit that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I'm not even saying hit the subscribe. I just say let me earn it. And when you do, I really appreciate it. Everybody else who is a supporter and actually subscribe to the channel, thank you so much once again for this opportunity. You guys have a good one. Take care.